I've done a lot of damage testing today. This sheet's going to be really beneficial to all of us to see the heroes that are hitting the hardest. I'm talking about area of effect damage. That's AoE damage to where we're hitting 2 to 3 to 5 targets. As many targets as possible. And this sheet's going to make it really good for you guys to look at and say, okay, there's 3 poisoners that I have. I can put them on a team. Maybe one's a rare, 2's an epic. You know they're doing a lot of good damage. You put them together, then you bring in your fire traveler, and all of a sudden you got a 5-man bonus. You got a banging goblin team, and then you can also take them into something like the trials. You could take them into Fey Meander and start blowing stuff up there. So this is awesome to see the kind of damage these heroes can do. And who's at the top? It's always fun to see who's at the top, but keep in mind, some of these heroes don't just do damage. They have a lot of other cool effects, but there are a lot that really only do damage. Like this guy, Tio. He's only there to do damage. He doesn't do any debuffs. He doesn't do any buffs for the team. He doesn't even help out any other summoners, I don't believe, from what I remember from him. So it's really cool to see these numbers. I love doing this. I love testing this. We were able to test some on stream today. And then after stream, I've been testing all night so we can get a baseline. Now we have a group of heroes. And the reason I couldn't do this before is because I did not have the gear to do this. We need to have 100% crit rate. With this, we're able to get a lot of crit, and it only affects melee when they're up against the enemy. So I just deduct critical damage, and then I bring in this gear right here on everyone. You see it says test. This is the gear that everybody uses. And look at the crit rate. The crit rate's 97 with this. Everyone we test will have a 100% chance to crit. What that does is it's the same damage every single time, as long as there's no variable, like a 50% chance to ignore defense. I could run them 1,000 times, 10 minutes, and it's going to be the same exact damage every single time, because the damage in this game is always the same when you crit. There's no variation, not even a slight variation in numbers. So it makes it really easy for us to get a baseline group of people, all level 90, all with this gear on, and see who's doing the most damage against one boss, against 3 target dummies, and then against 5 target dummies. So we'll know who the best of the best really is. And then, like I said, you can look through here and see, okay, I've got these guys. I know they're going to do great single target damage against the Vortex and against all the other bosses we're going to have this season. If you don't know, at midpoint in season, we're about to have 4 bosses, and like a month from now, that will have different affinities every day, or advantages for us to use different affinities against them every day, and they rotate. And then we have a big mega boss later on. So we're going to need a lot of different teams, and we'll have plenty of stamina to do that later on. The only reason we're looking at this is so you can see that every time you hit, it's the same exact damage. Sigrid is doing her basic ability for 1,280. She's doing her battle skill for whatever that was. She's doing her ultimate for 10,000 something, but it's always the same. Battle skill is 2,689. Her ultimate was 10,000, and you'll be able to see it because she's hitting 5 targets, and it's always the same number. That's why I was waiting to get this gear. I couldn't start doing this testing until I was able to get 100% crit rate gear. Then we could test, right? Then we can make sure that everybody's in line with each other. And these are great numbers to go off of because we don't have to run them a million times. They're always the same, no matter what, as long as there's no variation. As long as there's not like a random rally to make them better or a random percentage to do something wild, then we've got the numbers. Looking at the list against one target dummy, you can see that Erich is on top of the list currently, because we don't have a huge sample size, but we got a good one. We got a good baseline now that if you know any heroes you want me to test out, let me know and I'll test them out and we'll put them on here. Soon we'll have all the heroes on here. It's really nice to see this because Erich does the same amount of damage by himself. It doesn't matter if he's with a wild person helping him get wild and helping him build up his passive sooner. And this is proven because back in beta when I was doing this is all from beta, you can see Erich going up against one test dummy doing 677,000. And then with a wild person, which was Netta, the same one I'm using right now, he only went up to 716,000. And then when I took him up against 3 test dummies, his damage didn't change much at all with a wild person with him. You can see Flora, though. Flora is really special. She has other wild people with her. She does 772,000 by herself, but then with 2 other wild people in there, she's up to 1,347,000. That's a huge gain. So, of course, we're going to test her that way. We're going to test her by herself, and then we're going to test her with some other wild people so we can see her max potential. And this testing that I did back in the day was all with the same gear, all with 100% crit rate so we could get some good numbers. So basically, I'm redoing this to make it better. We've got AoE against 3 dummies. We got it against 5 dummies. Not everybody can hit 5. If they have a diamond, then they can hit 5. If they just have the 3x3 square, then we're going to keep them at the 3. But the ones that can hit 5 are going to do a lot of damage because they're hitting 5 targets, right? I prefer looking at the 3 numbers, 3 enemies, because more than likely, you're probably going to hit 3 enemies. If you're going through Fae, probably 3. If you're going through the trials, 3. If you're going through Goblin and you have them lined up, then a lot of times we can hit 5, especially with the diamond shape. That's the 3x3 with the squares on the outside. So yeah, you can catch a lot of guys in that one. So you can see right here, Hubberg is really bringing in the damage. We'll get back to him. Hold off on that Hubberg for now. Don't get too excited on Erich being the top one right now with our small sample size, but look at Erich pulling in 533 solo. 556 with Netta helping him get his passive built up faster. But if you come down to our Fire MC, our main character, the Traveler, he's almost at 500,000. So he's right there with Erich. But then look at this 3 target number. He is more than Erich, even with Erich having somebody else in there to wild proc. So the MC is so close to that guy. I don't know. I don't think he's great. The MC's doing more area damage than that guy. So again, when we did that Erich comparison against Sigrid, we did it against Usha in that one video, it still holds true. Although we're getting some pretty good solo numbers, and I told you guys this, up against the boss, Erich's ultimate, with only 1 person out there, only 1 enemy. You can't have any others because the ultimate is 5 hits that go random. Against 1 boss with those 5 hits, he does pretty good damage, but it's not amazing. Right? But currently, it's the top 1 right now, so it looks pretty nice. And then if we look at our boy Hubberg for single target damage, he is not looking good at all. He is down here at number 6 with poor single target damage, amazing multi-hit. 3 targets, 5 targets, pulling in crazy numbers. But solo against bosses, not doing well at all. I'm looking at the 3 level 1 dummies right now, and you can see where I went solo, then I brought Netta in for him, I went Joy solo, then I brought in somebody that buffs summons, and we got a lot of additional damage. I went solo with Usha, and then we brought in Rava for the Frost debuff, and I really like seeing this because if Usha can get up that Frost debuff herself, if she has enough accuracy, look at the difference in damage. It's not much at all. And I have Rava with the Hourglass to make sure that she can keep doing her skill over and over and over. It gives her skill haste, a lot of skill haste. I think 80 right now, plus I had her in the Goblin set. So she's able to apply those debuffs on cue all the time for Usha so that her passive ability can do double damage, so that her ultimate can hit and do double damage. But if she applies the Frost with her ultimate, she will still do double damage on her own. So that's nice. It's nice to see those. It's nice to see we don't need anybody else with Usha. We don't need anybody else with Erich to really ramp up their damage. And then down here with Hubberg, he's got a low percentage chance without scrolls to put Rally on himself to then effectively use Rally for his ultimate. So here you can see when we bring in this other guy that's got a chance to share Rally, on 3, it really wasn't that big. But this is a real varied number here. This is one that we can't get 100% like we can with the rest of these. With the rest of them, every time it's always the same. With Hubberg, since he has a percentage chance to get Rally, and then when he does have Rally, he shoots off his ultimate like twice, we'd have to run this 100, 1,000 times to get solid numbers. I ran it solo 1 time and got over 1 million. I ran it solo another time and got 900,000. Still great numbers, amazing numbers, but there is going to be a lot of variation in there. And you can see that when we do bring in somebody to give him Rally, it wasn't that big of a difference because he must be getting Rally himself quite often. And this guy only has a 50% chance to give an ally Rally. So it must not be proccing that often either. I didn't check how many times he actually got Rally. We would need to do that and see if we can get him to like an 80% chance to get Rally and then look at the numbers. But if we come over here on the big AoE for the 5 dummies, his damage is huge. With that person giving him Rally, we went up to 1.6 million, 1.3 million solo on 5 people, still massive. The king of area damage currently is by far Hubberg, but there are some other good ones. We got Tio down here. He's that summoner that has a 3x3 and then another diamond shape one, like a bigger AoE as a rare. And he pulled in 1.1 million by himself. He doesn't need anybody else to help him out. And that's some pretty good damage. I mean, that's some really good damage. We got Vetemir here pulling in 1.3, but we need Frost debuffs and we need heroes close to each other so that they can bounce off of each other. And the Frost debuffs he takes away and does these micro explosions. that just blow everybody up. So there's a lot of setup with him. That's why I've got these notes to the side. Hard to control this setup. Easy on the test dummies because they don't move around. Much harder on the goblins and other game modes because we have to have them relatively close and we have to have frost debuff. Now I will say on something like Feywild, on the tower, the trials, it's not that hard. Those battlefields aren't that big. I can take Rava and have that out there, get frost on pretty much everybody, and then have him kind of blow up. So Vetemir going through Fey Meander is still gonna be some serious damage. Tio as well though. We don't have to set him up with anything. We just bring him in there. He slaps down that 3x3 on his battle skill. He slaps down the bigger diamond shaped one on his ultimate and sacrifices his summoned guys and does good damage. Like really good damage without the setup. I mean, amazingly good without having to have that setup. And then we've got Sigrid, right? Easy to get those debuffs out there on everyone. And then she pops them all for some great damage. But then she puts that heal block and decrease attack. Two things that are really the most important things when we're going up against all those enemies that have some kind of form of healing, regens, and they're doing damage. And we want to make sure we take far less damage. So you do have to consider the debuffs on somebody like Sigrid. And if they die, she's going to get her ultimate back faster. That's when she really pops off. If they die with a debuff, she gets a 25% ultimate increase. And you know how that goes. You've seen my videos with her. It's just pew pew, right? Ultimate after ultimate after ultimate, more decreased attack, more heal block. It's pretty broken. I do love it. Now that I have that gear to properly test this, which took me quite a long time because they gave me a test server. They let me start from level 1, just like we start a brand new account. They didn't really give me anything but gems, so I could do a whole bunch of summons, and then I had to do everything on my own. I've had to play it like a normal account. I've had to go grind to rank guys up. I've had to get experience. I've had to do pretty much everything for it. I'm grateful they gave me a test server account, but back in beta, they gave me a test server account with everything. Gear, gems, coins. I don't have enough gold. You know, I'm short on everything, but we're able to do this now. I'm happy about that. So let me know, what heroes do you want me to test? Do you enjoy looking at these kind of numbers? Because I love it. I love seeing what these heroes really do compared to each other. And then you can get a good idea of what they're going to do in a team. If they're the top ones in poison doing this kind of damage, then those are the top poison heroes I want on my team. If they're doing massively well for one single target, if they're doing awesome for AoE, then those are the ones I want on my team. If I'm building Radiant and I see this Radiant going ham on this level 1 dummy, single target, then I know that those are the single target guys I want on my Radiant team or Rally team working together to get me the most damage that I can do. Tell me down below what heroes you want me to test. Appreciate you guys watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you all in a video soon.